It starts with Shedeur Sanders teasing Shilo about his jeans in a Paris hotel room, a moment so mundane it could be missed. Except it isn't. It's a glimpse into something profound. Two brothers raise a lead, to trust, to stand unshaken. Their back and forth is more than content. It's code. Beneath the jokes lies a rhythm of mutual accountability, calm under pressure, and deep relational trust. They're not just sharing laughs. They're modeling psychological safety in motion. If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed. That brotherhood isn't fluff. It's functional. The vlog becomes proof that emotional intelligence and elite performance are not separate lanes, but overlapping circles. When quarterbacks are calm, charismatic, and connected, they win, and Shedeur is already showing he knows how. The NFL's discomfort says more about its limitations than his. The NFL didn't know what hit it. One vlog, that's all it took. Shilo Sanders uploaded a Paris Fashion Week vlog starring his brother, Shedeur Sanders, and the entire football world paused. Not for stats, not for a scouting report, for a video of two brothers joking about jeans, teasing each other about passports, and strutting through Paris like they owned it, because in that moment they did. On the surface, it was denim cafes and couture, but underneath, a cultural earthquake. This wasn't a celebrity distraction. This wasn't off-season fluff. This was a controlled, deliberate act of cultural redefinition, one that forced the NFL to confront a version of leadership it has never been comfortable embracing. Shedeur Sanders didn't show up in Paris to escape pressure. He went there and thrived in it. Not because he was pretending, but because he's been built for this level of scrutiny, athletically, emotionally, and intellectually. That's the part people keep missing. What looked like playful banter between brothers was actually a display of elite cognition in real time, quick wit, precision timing, emotional control. The exact same skill set he uses when a defense sends a blitz, and he has 3 seconds to decide everything. Cutting a 40-minute vlog down to a clean, engaging 15? That's not fluff. That's real-world application of mental discipline. The ability to filter, prioritize, and act under pressure is exactly what separates great quarterbacks from average ones. And Shedeur showed it, just not on a football field. But of course, not everyone saw it that way. The second the vlog dropped, the familiar noise came back, unserious, distracted, too focused on image. And just like that, we were back in the old conversation about what a quarterback is supposed to be: silent, stoic, dull, controlled, and preferably not too joyful, especially if he's black. Because here's the truth. The NFL still has a problem with black autonomy. It tolerates black excellence, but only if it fits inside the right mold. Speak too loudly, smile too freely, wear too much, post too much, and suddenly your leadership gets questioned, not because of what you do, but because of how comfortable you are doing it. That's the core of what this vlog exposed. Shedeur Sanders isn't rattled by scrutiny. He's fluent in it. He's calm in high-pressure environments not because he shuts down, but because he stays fully himself. That calmness in Paris, that wasn't a break from quarterbacking. It was a different form of it. Leadership isn't just press conferences and locker room speeches. It's composure, clarity, and emotional agility. Shedeur walks through foreign cities the same way he walks through defensive schemes. No panic, just presence. And when you've been raised in a household where confidence isn't a formative but a daily expectation, that presence becomes second nature. That's where Deion Sanders' impact becomes crystal clear. This wasn't some fluke of personality. It's architecture, intentional parenting, a philosophy that says, be who you are all the time and be excellent while doing it. Shedeur doesn't toggle between personas. There's no switch. What you saw in Paris is what you see in Boulder and what you'll see in any NFL locker room. And that consistency, that's the real threat to the old guard. Because the NFL's traditional model of quarterback leadership is still rooted in emotional suppression. It treats warmth like weakness, personality like risk, and black self-expression like a red flag. That's why Shedeur's vlog hit so many nerves. Because it didn't try to be palatable. It just was. Black joy, intelligence, and presence. No translation, no compromise. Even the sibling dynamic was disruptive in all the right ways. Shilo and Shedeur weren't just co-stars. They were collaborators. They were relaxed, funny, honest, and never competitive in the toxic, zero-sum way that sports media loves to push. That kind of secure, collaborative masculinity challenges everything sports culture tries to enforce. It wasn't just brothers goofing off. It was a living counter-narrative to the idea that men have to dominate each other to prove value. Instead, what we saw was teasing as trust, banter as bonding, and presence as power. That emotional security is rare, and it's a direct result of how they were raised. Not to outperform each other, but to elevate each other. That's where the real power lies in this vlog. The authenticity wasn't an accident. It was a result of years of intentional development. Dion didn't just raise athletes. He raised emotionally intelligent, self-aware leaders who know how to navigate pressure and joy without collapsing under either, which is exactly why the reaction to this video was so sharp. The critics weren't critiquing content. They were reacting to what the content represented. A shift, a real one, from player to icon, from quarterback to cultural force. And that kind of shift always causes friction, especially when gatekeepers lose control of the narrative. The fallout was immediate. Two key figures who tried to limit or constrain Shedeur, Stefanski and Tommy Ree, were no longer in the picture. Their exits didn't happen in a vacuum. They happened in the wake of a broader cultural recalibration. Because if you try to box in a quarterback whose leadership style includes humor, presence, and autonomy, you're already behind. This isn't about clout or chaos. This is about infrastructure. Systems that couldn't evolve with the culture are getting left behind. Fast. Shedeur's vlog didn't signal distraction. It signaled agency. It showed that he doesn't need to contort himself into an outdated mold to be taken seriously. And the NFL, whether it's ready or not, is being forced to reckon with that, because younger audiences aren't interested in the polished, PR-approved athlete who only speaks in safe cliches. They want dimension. They want authenticity. They want to see that the guy who commands a huddle can also command a room, a camera, a city, and do it without sacrificing himself in the process. Shedeur Sanders is not just preparing for NFL pressure. He's redefining what readiness looks like. And that readiness includes knowing exactly who you are when the lights turn on, whether it's a stadium or a Paris boutique. The reaction to this vlog is the clearest sign, yet that the league is lagging behind the culture. While Shedeur is operating on global icon energy, too many decision-makers are still clinging to ideas about leadership that haven't aged well. Silent doesn't equal serious. Joyful doesn't mean unfocused. And charisma is not the opposite of discipline. It's often a result of it. That's why this moment matters. Because if the league wants to survive the next era of players, it needs to stop confusing cultural expansion with chaos. What Shedeur and Shilo delivered wasn't noise. It was fluency, in family, in fashion, in pressure, in preparation. And it's not slowing down. If you felt this shift, if you saw that vlog and got why it hit the way it did, drop your thoughts below. Did it shake up your view of what leadership looks like? Do you think the league is ready to evolve with the athletes it now depends on? Hit that like button. Share this with someone still clinging to the old playbook. And make sure to subscribe, because the culture's moving fast, and the ones who get aren't waiting around. The fallout from Shilo Sanders' Paris Fashion Week vlog with Shedeur didn't end with the last frame of the video. It kept echoing. Louder than most preseason headlines, louder than combined stats, louder than the carefully managed press cycles teams use to shape how we're supposed to see their quarterbacks. Because this wasn't a controlled rollout. It wasn't a SportsCenter package or a league-sanctioned, "Look at our rising stars" feature. It was a self-made, self-edited, self-expressed statement. And it was louder than anything the NFL has tried to script in years. That's exactly what made it so disruptive. The NFL's never quite known what to do with athletes who aren't just good, but fully realized. Players who lead not just with performance, but with presence. And when that presence is unapologetically black, joyful, confident, and culturally fluent, that's when the system really starts to twitch. For decades, the quarterback position has been guarded like a fortress, not just physically on the field, but ideologically. Who gets to lead a team? Who gets to be the face of a franchise? Who gets to speak for the sport? And historically, the answer has come with conditions. You can be black, but you better not be too much, too expressive, too visible, too independent, too free. Shedeur didn't just ignore those rules. He shredded them. He walked into one of the most historically elitist, Eurocentric, and image-obsessed spaces, Fashion Week in Paris, and didn't ask to be welcomed. He owned it, casually, confidently, in full color. And he brought his brother along to document it. The subtext? We don't need your validation. We're already built for this. That alone was enough to make a lot of traditionalists uncomfortable. But it wasn't just the fact that Shedeur was there. It was how he was there. Comfortable, relaxed, making fast, clear decisions, managing the vlog flow, moving through high-pressure social environments with humor and command. That wasn't just charisma. It was quarterbacking in a new key. And still, the loudest critiques came from the same tired script. He should be focused on football. This isn't leadership. He's distracted. All those coded jabs that always seem to reappear when a young black athlete dares to show full-spectrum humanity. What's really being said is this: we don't know how to control this. That discomfort gets especially loud when joy is involved. Joy, in a system that equates leadership with stoicism, is somehow interpreted as unserious. But that's exactly the myth this vlog dismantles. Shedeur's relaxed confidence wasn't detachment. It was evidence of emotional mastery. He wasn't coasting. He was commanding with ease. That's not the absence of focus. It's the refinement of it. And for all the people clutching their pearls over the so-called distractions, here's what they missed. Shedeur's brain was on full display the entire time. His ability to filter noise, respond quickly, adapt socially, and cut through the fluff with clarity. That's the same skill set he uses under center. The vlog wasn't a vacation from football. It was proof that his mental toolkit is always on, which is exactly why the NFL isn't just watching. They're scrambling. Because this isn't just a style moment. It's a culture shift, a new model of what leadership can look like. One that isn't afraid to laugh or flex or move through elite spaces with swagger. One that says, I can be global and grounded, iconic and intentional, joyful and deadly serious, all at once. That duality, that's the future of sports. And the old system knows it. That's why the backlash was so swift, so loud, and let's be honest, so transparent. This wasn't about whether Shedeur was ready to lead. It was about whether the league was ready to follow, ready to redefine professionalism, ready to accept that authority can sound like banter, look like joy, and move like confidence, not just silence and stoicism. And again, it's not just about Shedeur. This entire moment is a reflection of something bigger, a generational shift in how athletes understand themselves, in how they present, how they lead, how they own their narrative. The vlog wasn't polished. It wasn't corporate. It was authentic. That's why it resonated. Because younger fans don't want the media-trained robot. They want the multidimensional human. And that's exactly who Shedeur showed up as. This is also where the exits of figures like Stefanski and Tommy Rees start to make sense. Not as isolated incidents, but as part of a broader pattern. People who tried to shrink Shedeur's platform, to control his image or slow down his ascent. They didn't just lose a battle. They lost relevance. Because the new standard isn't about conformity. It's about congruence. Is who you are matching how you lead? And for Shedeur, the answer is yes. What we saw in that vlog was someone completely aligned, comfortable in his skin, at ease in unfamiliar spaces, leading without trying too hard, showing warmth and sharpness in the same breath. That's not distraction, that's definition. That's a quarterback who knows exactly who he is and refuses to compartmentalize it. And it's worth repeating. This isn't accidental. This is the result of years of intention, of a family culture that doesn't just celebrate achievement, but develops identity. Deion Sanders didn't just raise football players. He built sons who understand what power is and how to carry it with clarity, humility, and humor. You don't get that kind of confidence without work. You don't get that kind of presence without trust. And you definitely don't get that kind of calm under scrutiny unless you've been taught to treat visibility not as a threat, but as a tool. That's the foundation Shedeur is working from. That's what makes this moment uncontainable. And Shilo? His role matters too, because what you see between them isn't just family, it's co-leadership. It's a live-action model of how secure men relate to each other, not through dominance or competition, but through laughter, teasing, and support. That dynamic alone challenges the hyper-individualistic, often toxic norms in elite sports environments. This wasn't just brotherly content. It was a paradigm shift, a template for what relational strength can look like, even under pressure, especially under pressure. And that's what the NFL and its surrounding culture is still trying to figure out: how to deal with athletes who aren't just strong, but whole, who lead from a place of joy, culture, and self-determination, who don't wait to be granted the spotlight, but build their own and look good doing it. Because at the end of the day, this vlog wasn't about a vacation. It wasn't about branding. It was about presence. It was about showing the world, without saying it directly, that leadership can be stylish, that discipline can be joyful, and that black quarterbacks don't need to erase parts of themselves to be taken seriously. They're not asking for acceptance. They're showing what excellence looks like when it's free. So now we're here. The NFL's on notice. The fans are watching. And the playbook is being rewritten in real time, not just by what happens on the field, but by what happened around it, through cameras, conversations, and cultural power moves. The ripple effect of Shilo and Shedeur Sanders' Paris Fashion Week vlog didn't fade. It expanded. What looked like a personal, casual documentation of a brotherly trip has now become something closer to a cultural pivot point. And whether the NFL wants to admit it or not, the league is caught in the undertow, because what this vlog represents is something the league hasn't quite built language for yet. It's not just about off-field personality. It's not just about marketing yourself. This is about a black quarterback, and not just any quarterback, but this quarterback declaring in real time that leadership doesn't require dilution, that presence and performance aren't at odds, that excellence doesn't always wear a suit and speak softly. Sometimes it wears a well-tailored coat, jokes with his brother about airport stamps, and edits a video with the same precision he applies to breaking down a defense. This is the part that's catching so many people off guard. The vlog was football, not in the traditional sense, but in a deeper one. What Shedeur displayed throughout that video wasn't just aesthetic, it was operational. He showed timing, control, decision-making under pressure, and social intelligence. All the traits that make a quarterback elite were right there, just dressed in denim instead of pads. And yet, because the packaging didn't fit the rigid, outdated mold of what quarterback leadership has historically looked like, the assumptions came flying in. The accusations of distraction, of being unserious, of caring too much about image, as if style cancels out strategy, as if joy invalidates discipline. But here's the thing that's been missed by most of the noise. Shedeur's confidence didn't show up out of nowhere. It wasn't manufactured for a camera or conjured for clout. It's been built through lived experience, through intentional parenting, and through relentless clarity about who he is and who he's not going to come just to make other people comfortable. You could see it in every frame. The way he didn't chase the spotlight, but didn't hide from it either. The way he moved through Paris, not as a tourist looking for validation, but as someone fully aware of his value. That's not arrogance. That's internal security. The kind that can't be coached in a film room. And it's not just about the NFL being uncomfortable. It's about an entire sports ecosystem still adjusting to what happens when the narrative slips out of its hands. Because this vlog didn't come from ESPN. It wasn't produced by the league or framed by a franchise's PR team. It was shot by Shilo, edited independently, and dropped without warning. And still, it hit like a headline. Because when authenticity meets intention, you don't need a press release. You are the press release. The fact that so many people felt the need to immediately frame this video as a problem is proof of the system's fragility. If Shedeur had gone to Paris and played it quiet, appeared but said nothing, wore the clothes but kept his head down, there wouldn't have been a ripple. It's the confidence that shook people. It's the comfort in his skin. The fluency in space is traditionally reserved for a different kind of elite. That's what the NFL and many of its longtime power brokers aren't ready for. An athlete who doesn't just enter new rooms, but redefines them. And this is where the departures of Stefanski and Tommy Ree become symbolic. These weren't just coaching changes. These were clear indicators that systems resistant to evolution can't hold on to power in this new era. The old way of keeping players in their lane, of limiting how they're perceived off the field, of treating any non-football engagement as a liability, it doesn't work anymore. Not when athletes are this intentional, this culturally plugged in, this ready. Because what's rising now isn't just a more vocal athlete. It's a more complete one. And the Sanders family, whether intentionally or not, is modeling the architecture. This isn't about image. This is about identity. Deion didn't just raise football players. He raised emotionally fluent leaders who understand the stakes of visibility and the responsibility of narrative. That's why Shedeur doesn't flinch in the spotlight. He's been taught that visibility isn't something to survive. It's something to steward. And the beauty of this moment is that it wasn't orchestrated to make a point. That's what makes it even more effective. The vlog didn't come with a thesis statement. It didn't scream, "Look at me challenging the system." It just quietly did, by refusing to play along with the script. Even the sibling dynamic between Shedeur and Shilo worked as its own soft rebellion. In a sports culture that thrives on rivalries, ego, and internal competition, what we saw was something entirely different. Mutual respect, playful accountability, real partnership. They were elevating each other, not stepping on each other. That a threat to the individual is hyper-competitive, alpha at all cost mentality the league has long romanticized. Because what happens when young black men start showing us that leadership doesn't have to be lonely, that masculinity doesn't have to be hard-edged, that you can joke, hug, laugh, and still command the room? You start to expose just how much of sports culture has been built on fear, on the idea that vulnerability is weakness, on the belief that joy must be suppressed in service of dominance. The Sanders brothers aren't just challenging that, they're making it look dated, and fans are responding, because authenticity always lands, especially now. The generational line in sports is as clear as ever. Older models say, be humble, be quiet, be grateful, don't rock the boat. The new wave says, be real, be visible, be full. And that fullness, it's resonating. That's what Shedeur's vlog did. It didn't just start conversation. It became a mirror. And a lot of people didn't like what they saw. Not because the video was messy, but because it was clean, too smooth, too effortless. It was excellence without compromise. And for those who've always depended on athletes needing external validation to stay in check, that's a terrifying concept. Because once you realize you don't need permission to be excellent, the whole system starts to feel very small. This is where the NFL has a choice to make. It can double down on its discomfort, keep trying to squeeze young stars into outdated boxes, and risk becoming irrelevant to the next generation. Or it can pay attention, really pay attention, not to the noise, but to what the culture is saying. That leadership looks different now. That visibility isn't vanity, it's strategy. That identity and performance aren't in conflict. They're often the same thing. And if it wants to survive, it's going to need to make space for quarterbacks who don't just throw passes, but shape narratives. Shedeur did both, in 15 minutes, with zero apologies. If you felt that shift, drop your take in the comments. If you're here for this new version of what leadership looks like, hit that like button. Send this to someone who still thinks joy is a weakness, and make sure to subscribe, because the era of the one-dimensional athlete is over. And what's next? It's smarter, louder, funnier, sharper, and entirely on its own terms.